It is 25th of May, 1941. Somewhere in the North Atlantic, a man sits at a radio transmitter aboard a warship and begins to send a long message. From listening posts strung along the Atlantic coast of Britain and Ireland, direction-finding stations pick up the signal. They triangulate. In minutes, they have a position. The British Admiralty had lost the Bismarck the night before. They did not know where she was. She had broken contact with her pursuers, slipped away in the dark, gone entirely, so she had escaped. So why was she telling them where to find her? It is the 18th of May, 1941, Gotenhafen Harbor on the Baltic coast. A fleet band plays Muss i den, the old farewell song, as a warship slips her moorings and moves toward open water. The ship is the Bismarck. 823 feet long, nearly 50,000 tons fully loaded, 8 38-centimeter guns arranged in 4 twin turrets, 2 forward, 2 aft, a top speed of 31 knots. In the largest battleship ever built by Germany and among the largest built by any European power. On her quarterdeck, watching the shore recede, stands Admiral Lütjens, fleet commander, the man in charge of this operation. He is lean, angular, 51 years old. In photographs, he looks like a man who has settled something difficult inside himself. He does not look happy. He had argued against sailing. By the spring of 1941, Britain is fighting alone. With the fall of France the previous year stripped the Royal Navy of an Atlantic partner. U-boats are tightening their grip on the island's maritime lifeline, sinking between 30 and 50 merchant ships a month, targeting the convoys of food, fuel, and raw materials on which British survival depends. 11 convoys are at sea when Bismarck begins her run. Battleships have been pressed into service as escorts. Grand Admiral Erich Raeder, commander of the Kriegsmarine, understands the math. Germany cannot win a conventional naval engagement against the Royal Navy. But it does not need to. It only needs to sever the supply line. And that spring, he has a weapon capable of doing it. The plan is called Operation Rheinübung, Rhine exercise. It calls for a powerful battle group. Bismarck, her sister ship Tirpitz, the battle cruisers Scharnhorst and Gneisenau. 4 capital ships driving into the Atlantic at once, overwhelming any escort. Sinking ships faster than Britain can replace them. Raeder has reason to believe it will work. His surface raiders have done it before. That winter, in a 2-month Atlantic campaign under Lütjens himself, Scharnhorst and Gneisenau sank or captured 22 ships totaling 116,000 tons, then walked into Brest without a scratch. But that is not the operation that sails from Gotenhafen on the 18th of May, 1941. Scharnhorst is in dry dock, her engines failing. Gneisenau has just absorbed a torpedo hit that will keep her out of action for 6 months. Tirpitz is not yet ready for combat operations. The great battle group Raeder envisioned is, in practice, 1 battleship and a heavy cruiser. Lütjens pressed for delay, until autumn, at minimum, until Tirpitz was ready. He was overruled. He went to sea anyway, commanding an operation he had identified as under-resourced with 1 heavy cruiser, the Prinz Eugen, where he should have had a battle group. Now he is not a man given to visible grievance. What he carries is considerable. Among the senior commanders of the Nazi state's armed forces, Lütjens is a distinctly unusual figure. He is a professional naval officer of the old school whose contempt for Nazism is not merely private. After Kristallnacht in 1938, he joined 2 other senior naval commanders in formally protesting the regime's anti-Semitic violence. He is married to Margarete Backenköhler, and a doctor's daughter, classified as half Jewish under the Nuremberg laws. He serves the Reich with professional integrity while privately despising what it has become. His wife is carrying their 4th child. He does not know it. He stands on the quarterdeck as the band plays, and the shore falls away and the Baltic opens before the ship. The operation's secrecy begins to erode almost immediately. On May 20th, as Bismarck and Prince Eugen move north through the Kattegat, as they are sighted by the Swedish cruiser Gotland. The Gotland files a routine report. Swedish sources, quietly, through diplomatic channels, alert the British Admiralty within 24 hours. The German Navy had not accounted for this. The following day, the German squadron enters a fjord near Bergen, Norway. Lütjens originally intends to pass through without stopping, but clear weather changes his plan. He anchors to wait for nightfall, reasoning that darkness will cover the final run into the Atlantic. At noon, Bismarck lies in Grimstad Fjord. A tanker sits nearby, ready to resupply her fuel. Lütjens does not order the fueling. The specific reason has never been fully established. But Bismarck sails into the Atlantic short of her maximum fuel load. British reconnaissance aircraft arrive over Grimstad Fjord that same afternoon. Flying Officer Michael Suckling, piloting a Spitfire on a photographic patrol, photographs both ships at anchor. The images are rushed to London. Within hours, the Royal Navy is mobilizing. The heavy cruisers HMS Norfolk and HMS Suffolk are directed to patrol the Denmark Strait, the narrow corridor between the west coast of Iceland and the Greenland ice pack. The battlecruiser HMS Hood and the battleship HMS Prince of Wales, with a destroyer screen, move south of Iceland to intercept. The net begins to form, and Bismarck and Prince Eugen sail from Norway on the evening of the 22nd of May. They do not know how much is already known. The Denmark Strait in late May is not a friendly place. Pack ice from Greenland presses the navigable channel to roughly 80 miles. The water is near freezing. Fog banks come and go without warning. On the evening of 23rd May, HMS Suffolk spots the German squadron hugging the Greenland ice pack. Suffolk is outgunned by orders of magnitude. She retreats into a fog bank and sends her report to the Admiralty, then settles in to shadow the Germans from a safe distance using radar. Norfolk closes as well. Shortly after first contact, Bismarck turns and fires on Norfolk at 6 miles. The salvo misses, but the concussion from Bismarck's own main battery disables her forward radar, the first self-inflicted wound of the operation. Lütjens responds by repositioning Prince Eugen ahead of Bismarck, and where her intact radar can lead the column. The German formation pushes south at 28 knots. The only detailed account of those hours aboard Bismarck belongs to one man, a junior gunnery officer named Burkhard von Müllenheim-Rechberg, who survived the operation and whose memoir would become the closest available view from inside the ship. Ahead of the German squadron, converging fast, is Vice Admiral Lancelot Holland aboard HMS Hood. Hood is 20 years old, from the symbol of British naval power through 2 decades of uneasy peace. 860 feet long, 42,000 tons. The most famous warship in the world. A ship that had shown the flag in every ocean, that millions of people had visited on open days, whose silhouette appeared on postcards and magazine covers and in the imagination of every child who had grown up between the wars watching her come into harbor. She also has a problem. At Jutland in 1916, 3 British battle cruisers had exploded after their thin horizontal deck armor failed to stop plunging shells from reaching their magazines. The lesson was drawn clearly. A modernization program was designed to address Hood's equivalent weakness. The war intervened before the work could be completed. In May 1941, Hood's deck armor is 2 inches thick where it counts most. Adequate against a shell striking her side, now inadequate against a shell falling steeply from altitude and punching down through the top. Holland knows this. His plan is to close the distance as quickly as possible. At long range, shells fall steeply, threatening the deck. At close range, they arrive more horizontally, where the belt armor can handle them. He angles in hard, racing to reach the range where the geometry stops working against him. But the approach angle he chooses leaves 2 of Hood's 4 main turrets unable to bear on the enemy. She is going into battle at half her firepower, racing to close a gap before a structural weakness kills her. At 5:37 in the morning of 24th May, the British sight the Germans at 19 miles. And here, compounding everything, a mistake. Hood's gunners fix on the lead ship. Prinz Eugen repositioned there the night before when Bismarck's own guns disabled her radar. The Hood opens fire on the wrong vessel. The distance closes. The sky is cold grey, just light enough to see. At 5:55, Bismarck opens fire. The range is approximately 11 miles. Hood is still approaching. Her deck is still exposed. For 7 minutes, the salvos cross the Denmark Strait. Then a shell from Bismarck finds Hood near her aft magazines. A column of flame rises from the ship's midline, blinding the crew of Prince of Wales astern. Hood stops. She heels to starboard, rights herself, then heels hard to port and does not come back. Her stern drops first. Her bow swings upward, pointing at the sky at 45 degrees and follows it down. 3 minutes after the explosion, she is gone. 1,415 men. 3 survivors rescued 2 hours later by the destroyer HMS Electra, the single greatest loss of life in Royal Navy history. The signal passes through the fleet. Hood has blown up. Prince of Wales is barely commissioned. Civilian technicians still below decks trying to fix broken gun turrets, continues engaging Bismarck before being ordered to withdraw. She lands 3 hits. The third ruptures fuel tanks deep in the ship. Oil begins tracing a dark line across the North Atlantic. Flooding enters forward compartments. A boiler room is compromised. Bismarck's maximum speed drops. The fuel she failed to top off in Bergen drains into the sea. Bismarck won the battle, and in winning it, she sealed her own fate. Commerce raiding in the open Atlantic, the entire purpose of Operation Rheinübung, is finished before it began. Lütjens sets course for Brest, 800 miles south. In London, Churchill's response is brief and absolute. Bismarck must be sunk at all costs. He goes further, suggesting in an extraordinary signal that King George V be left dead in the water, out of fuel, in the middle of the Atlantic, if that is what finishing Bismarck requires. The Royal Navy begins stripping convoy escorts, pulling ships from other theaters. Rodney, en route to Boston for a refit, is turned around. Revenge from Halifax. Ramillies from an Atlantic convoy. Within hours, 6 battleships, 2 carriers, 16 cruisers, 33 destroyers, and 8 submarines are directed toward a single point in the North Atlantic. Hood had made the pursuit personal, political, and absolute. Every ship the Royal Navy can float is coming. Lütjens detaches Prince Eugen on the afternoon of 24th May, sending her south into the Atlantic on the commerce raiding mission Bismarck can no longer perform. Prince Eugen will never fire at a merchant ship. She reaches Brest 2 weeks later without sinking anything. That night, 9 Swordfish torpedo bombers from the newly commissioned carrier HMS Victorious, her crews barely trained, her aircraft barely proven, find Bismarck in the dark and score 1 torpedo hit. Negligible damage. All 9 aircraft return. Bismarck pushes south through the night. Then, in the early hours of 25th May, contact is lost. British ships turn in the wrong direction. Navigational error compounded by faulty direction-finding plots. The gap widens to hundreds of miles. Bismarck is heading southeast toward France. The Royal Navy is searching northeast toward Norway. She threads through the net, roughly 100 miles astern of King George V, 50 miles from Rodney, and 45 miles from Edinburgh. Each of those ships is looking for her. None of them know she is there. The Atlantic opens ahead. Brest is less than 24 hours away, and then Lütjens transmits. A long message sent to German naval headquarters. It reports Hood's destruction, the damage from Prince of Wales. It reports that he is being pursued. British direction finding stations receive it. They triangulate. In minutes, they have a position. He was not being pursued. So he had broken contact. He had escaped. He did not know. Why? The question has no clean answer. Some historians suggest passive hydrophones aboard Bismarck detected the sounds of distant ships and were misread as active pursuit. Others point to a failure of situational awareness on the flag bridge. A man under pressure for 5 days, operating with damaged radar, unable to trust what silence around him meant. What is certain is this: the British did not know where Bismarck was. Lütjens told them. And even then, a British plotting error briefly sent ships in the wrong direction, giving Bismarck hours of additional grace. She nearly escaped again, even after giving herself away. But the corrections came. The net reformed. At 10:30 on the morning of 26th May, a Catalina reconnaissance aircraft from 209 Squadron RAF spots an oil slick on the surface of the North Atlantic. It is the damage from Prince of Wales's hit 3 days earlier, still marking Bismarck's path across the ocean. The Catalina follows the slick to its source. At the controls is Ensign Leonard B. Smith of the United States Navy, a co-pilot on a British combat patrol 6 months before Pearl Harbor, in technical violation of American neutrality. His position report places Bismarck 690 miles west-northwest of Brest. She has less than 24 hours before she enters the Luftwaffe air umbrella. The only force in position is Force H, and from Gibraltar, the carrier Ark Royal, the battlecruiser Renown, the cruiser Sheffield. Ark Royal's Swordfish aircraft are the last instrument available. Without a torpedo hit that reduces Bismarck's speed, Tovey's battleships cannot reach her in time. The math is that stark. At 14:50, Ark Royal launches 15 Swordfish into weather building toward Force 8, the carrier pitching violently in the North Atlantic swells. The pilots have not been told that Sheffield has moved forward to shadow Bismarck. They have been told no friendly ships are in the area. They find Sheffield first. The attack runs in. Torpedoes drop, the magnetic pistols, a new design intended to detonate beneath a hull. Fire on contact with the water instead. Torpedo after torpedo explodes harmlessly in the sea. Sheffield's captain, who has ordered his gun crews not to fire on the attacking aircraft, maneuvers through the splashes. One flight of Swordfish, recognizing what they have done, signals back to Sheffield by lamp. Sorry for the kipper. Ark Royal's deck crews rearm, this time with contact detonators. The second wave launches into conditions that should ground any aircraft. The deck is heaving. Wind tears spray across it in sheets. Canvas and wire biplanes built in another era, flying at 90 knots, drop off the bow one by one into a Force 8 gale. And they find Bismarck in the failing light and come in low. So low that many of her anti-aircraft weapons cannot depress far enough to track them. 15 torpedoes launched. Most miss. One hits amidships. Minor flooding, negligible effect, and one more finds the stern. The steering compartment sits at the extreme end of the ship, armored, protected, the most structurally defended section of the whole aft. It is also the one point whose destruction cannot be undone. The torpedo finds it, and both rudders jam at 12 degrees to port. Men go over the stern in freezing water to try to free the mechanism by hand. It is useless. In the prevailing sea state, with the storm pushing hard, Bismarck can no longer be steered. She turns, a great circle in the North Atlantic dark, directly toward the British fleet. Lütjens sends his last signal. Ship unmaneuverable. We will fight to the last shell. Long live the Führer. Hitler's response is read to the crew over the ship's loudspeakers. The survivors later described the mood aboard as one of deepening despair. The messages intended to inspire serving, mainly to confirm what everyone already knows. What no one aboard Bismarck knows. At 19:50 that evening, the submarine U-556 obtains a perfect firing solution on both Ark Royal and Renown. The distance is right, the angle is right. U-556 has expended every torpedo she carries on previous operations. She cannot fire. The carrier that launched the Swordfish that jammed Bismarck's rudder passes over an empty submarine in the dark. Through the night, British destroyers and the Polish destroyer ORP Piorun, Poland itself under German occupation, one of its surviving warships pouring fire into the German flagship, Harry Bismarck, through the dark. No serious damage, but no rest for the crew that must fight the morning. The morning of 27th May arrives grey and cold, a northwest gale tearing across a rough sea. King George V and Rodney sight Bismarck at 8:43 and open fire. Bismarck's first salvos fall close to Rodney. She still has her guns. She still has her crew. Neither British ship is hit. It does not last. 16-inch shells from Rodney destroy Bismarck's command center and main fire control within minutes. Captain Lindemann can no longer steer toward the enemy or away from it. He cannot correct the aim of his guns. And Tovey can base every tactical decision on the certainty that the German ship will hold her heading. By 9:31, Bismarck is no longer firing. By 10:15, she is a burning wreck, and she will not sink. She takes hundreds of shells. Her superstructure is gone. The men inside her are being destroyed, and her hull remains stubbornly afloat. Tovey, his fuel nearly exhausted, urges his flag captain, get closer, I can't see enough hits." He has no more time. He orders the cruiser Dorsetshire to finish her with torpedoes and turns for home. Below decks, Fregattenkapitän Hans Uhls gives the order. Scuttling charges. Watertight doors opened. The sea begins to come in. Dorsetshire's torpedoes strike minutes later. Both things are happening simultaneously. The Royal Navy is sinking Bismarck, and Bismarck is sinking herself. And in the end, the distinction changes nothing about the outcome. On the starboard side, forward of the aft turret, and von Müllenheim-Rechberg stands at the rail with a group of men waiting to jump. Many are already in the water. He tells them to hold. There's still time. We're sinking slowly. The sea is running high, and we'll have to swim a long time, so it's best we jump as late as possible. I'll tell you when. He has already seen King George V and Rodney steaming north. He knows what that means. At 10:39 in the morning, Bismarck goes down 300 nautical miles west of Brest, the 4,800 meters of water beneath her. British warships recover 110 survivors before a U-boat alarm ends the rescue. The alarm proves false. A German submarine and a weather ship retrieve 5 more from the sea. Of a crew of 2,221 men, 114 survive. Among them, von Müllenheim-Rechberg, who would later write the only first-hand account of the ship's final days. Admiral John Tovey, from his flagship, who delivers his verdict on the enemy. The Bismarck had put up a most gallant fight against impossible odds, worthy of the old days of the Imperial German Navy, and she went down with her colors flying. Günther Lütjens was born on 25th May, 1889. He died on 27th May, 1941, 2 days after his 52nd birthday. His body was never recovered. His wife, Margaret, classified as half-Jewish under the Nuremberg laws, not the woman whose presence in his life made his service to the Reich a private act of defiance simply by virtue of his marriage, gave birth to their 4th child less than a month after his death, a boy named Peter. Lütjens never knew she was pregnant. He had argued against the operation. He had been overruled. He went to sea without knowing, and did not come back. Germany never again sent a surface raider into the open Atlantic. The Tirpitz, Bismarck's sister ship, the vessel that was supposed to have sailed alongside her on Operation Rheinübung, whose absence from Gotenhafen on May 18th made everything that followed more likely, spent the remainder of the war in Norwegian fjords. She was too valuable to risk and too powerful to ignore, held in reserve while the war that Raider had planned to win through surface warfare was fought and lost by submarines instead. Her 8 38-centimeter guns pointed at nothing year after year. She never fired them at an enemy ship.